Welcome to the Too Rich to Miss podcast. I am your host, Richard Hawks, and coming to you this week. Today's episode title is going to be More Questions Than Answers. More questions than answers. And this is really specifically going in talking about the current situation that's going on here in Virginia. This podcast right now is being videoed and recorded right here in Virginia. To those watching me on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Too Rich to Miss, thank you for checking me out. And make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Be sure that you check out the podcast on all platforms that you can check it out on. We're on Spotify. We are on iTunes. We are on iHeartRadio and everywhere else where you can get your podcast and check out your podcast. And you're watching me right now on Too Rich to Miss YouTube channel. That's the number two, Rich, the number two, Miss. And once again, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out and download my other episodes and listen. I would greatly appreciate it. I have a couple people that have inquired about sponsoring the podcast, and we're going to be getting into that as well. And just kind of talking about some of the things that I actually use a lot, and that are very helpful in not only my voiceover business, but my other businesses as well. And I think those things would be very helpful. But so we'll have more on that as we go into the future episodes. And we're going to crank this thing up and get some more episodes coming out per week. So now, today, let's talk about today. More questions than answers. Now, here's the thing. In Virginia, and this is more of a political conversation, right? And I'm not coming to you here as stating that I'm some type of political expert or that I'm a political genius strategist of some sort, right? I'm coming to you from the standpoint of a normal citizen that's a normal middle class citizen that has to get out here and go to work and go get it every day, irregardless of who is or is not in the political office. Now, as with most black people, I have been uh, geared and trained and stated to always vote Democrat. That's been what's always been told to me in coming up, to vote and to vote Democrat. Now, as I got to be old, and I just used to do that just because that's always what was taught to me without necessarily taking the time to think about and ask myself the questions of that we as a community, as a black community anyway, because the purpose of this podcast is to motivate, educate, and inspire the black listener to be able to live their best life now, utilizing the skills that they already have within. And one of the skills that we all have within is common sense. We all don't take the time to use it, but we all have common sense. And getting back to the Democratic thing, was something that was taught to me and something that was taught to me by people that care about me, right? So it's not like we in the black community heard this from people that we don't have a respect for, our family members and loved ones, but they're telling us based on something that they're telling us to the best of their knowledge. And as we come into this particular age of information, knowledge is a lot more prevalent and able for us to get our hands on. Therefore, we should take the time to use the knowledge that we get to be able to answer some simple, subtle questions. For example, when it comes to voting Democrat, why? We're not saying this from a bad standpoint or that they don't have anything going on, but what is the black candidates or the Democratic candidates? We got some black ones, but what are the Democratic candidates' agenda for the black us as black people? What are they going to do for us? And I mean, now, one side of me says that they're going to talk out of one side of their neck just to get our votes, and then when they get in office, they're going to do something totally different. I mean, and from the sake of, and if you're like, oh well, Richard, you just got, come on, man, really? Well, let's use our common sense here and let's think about it and let's ask ourselves, what have the Democrats done for black people? Now, on the same token, what have the Republicans done for black people? And honestly, I would like to get rid of both parties and, quite frankly, start over. Because I mean, whether you're talking about the left wing or the right wing, or whether you're talking about the left side of the aisle or the right side of the aisle, if it's the left side of the aisle or the right side of the aisle, they're in the same building. They all have the same agenda. And the agenda is not, from my standpoint, and just looking around, the agenda is not to the benefit of the people that voted them in. Their agenda is to get voted in so that they can live the life of a politician. Now, of course, this does not apply to every and all politicians. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But if we're going to be honest about it, let's keep it real and let's go to common sense. What has the listener listening to this right now, in the state that you're in, the county that you're in, what has your politician done that you voted for that has specifically impacted your life? Now, if the politician has done something amazing and wonderful, and you're in one of those places where your politician does exactly everything that they say, and they live up to all of their promises, and they deliver on every political promise, then hey, that's great, good for you. But now, speaking as far as for the rest of us, all of us can't say that that's happened. Now, let's just speak from the Democratic experience right here in Virginia. Now, when you talk about the Democratic experience right here in Virginia, they have come in and come into power, right? Because don't get me wrong, I have no love and no like for 45. And I have no love and no like for, I have no love, no like for the man. And he takes it to me, I take him to be someone who is very selfish and self-centered, and he's doing any and everything that he can to get to fatten his own pockets and benefit his own self and his own family. He's not going to do anything for anybody else that's not going to benefit him directly. And that's just my take. Now, we can all call him a racist, and I think that applies. We could call him a rapist, and I guess depending on how you wanted to go with that, allegedly, or allegedly, I mean, shoot, you can go through and listen to what he said and go by and see exactly what he is or is not and make your own decision. But here's the thing that we need to think about. He's doing for himself, right? And as black people and as voters, we need to be doing what's best for us, our community, and ourselves, right? So let's get back to speaking about voting Democrat, right? And when we're talking about voting Democrat, once again, why? And this is more questions than answers. That's the whole point of this episode. Why? Is to go through and let's ask ourselves why. Because the Democrats, they came in office here in Virginia, and now they have enlisted and put in all of these gun laws in place where they essentially call themselves doing this under the auspice of trying to protect and prevent mass shootings, but you're going to do that by infringing on the rights of current legal gun owners. And then you're going to infringe on the officers of the law who decide to not enforce this unconstitutional acts. And then you come up, in addition to all of that, threaten the citizens of the state and the officers of the law who state that they won't enforce this by saying, we will not only bring in the National Guard to enforce this law, if we need to, they also put out another law that's going to be coming and produced on the bill that states any law officer that does not help to enforce the law or stands in the way of this law being enforced on legal law-abiding citizens, mind you, they will be fired from their job and not be able to be in law enforcement again for a year. These are things that are actually on the bill. This is what the Democrats are doing. Now, if you just so happen to be a law abiding citizen, and if you just so happen to be a black law abiding citizen, if you just so happen to be a black law abiding citizen that legally owns a weapon, then if they decide to send in the National Guard, even if you're in one of these sanctuary counties, because there's over 40 sanctuary counties in Virginia, right? Where the local law enforcement has stated, you know what, that's some bullshit. We ain't fuck with that. But now, what's going to happen when the people from upstate start pulling their funding? What's going to happen when they send in the doggone, if they decide to send in the doggone National Guard? We all know as black people that we tend to get the short end of the stick when it comes to law enforcement and for anything in regards to that. So that's going to open up a powder keg of bad things that could happen to us in our community, to us, right? Under the guise of pulling off and coming to collect guns from people who own them, who bought them legally. So I start to think to myself, well, okay, I don't want Trump in office as a Republican, but gracious, I don't want these doggone Democrats over here doing all this nonsense either. You know, you're infringing on the rights of legal gun owners, and they just think it's cool. And since we got so many Democrats in office right now, it's gonna pass. And I mean, they have full control in the state of Virginia right now, so that's gonna go across. Now, and the bad part about it is, it doesn't solve the problem. Number one. Number two, all it does is come in and infringe on the rights of legal gun owners, right? All this does is affect legal gun owners. It does absolutely nothing, nada, for what's really going on and for the real problem. So, I ask, why do we vote Democrat? What are the Democrats doing for us and our votes? What are the Republicans doing for our votes? Are any of them doing anything for us at all? Here's another question. Why, or what, I say, what would happen if the citizens of of the country, of our great United States of America, right? What if we as a black community got together and the good white people on the other side, what if all of us and all of them got together and realized that they are not the enemy and we are not their enemy? The politicians that are putting in and enforcing these crazy laws and rules in place are betting us against each other. And could it be that the politicians are the real enemy of the people? And the people, we are just the ones that are fighting each other? And the politicians are sitting in the back just kind of salivating at what we're doing and how idiotic that we are as a people, right? Could it be that they are working both of us against, working the black society against the white society? I mean, of course, the black society gets the shorter end of the stick. But what would happen? But truth be told, politicians, if they really want to come out and be honest about it, these politicians don't care about nobody other than themselves and the people that get them in office. after they get your vote and get in office, they're not thinking about none of us, black, white, or otherwise. So, more questions than answers. What if the black voters and the white voters actually got on the same page, and then we realized that the agenda that we actually have, we want to be in our own communities, they want to be in their own communities. We want to have good schools in our communities, they want to have good schools in their communities. What if we all got together and and turned the whole thing upside down, got independents in there that are not Republican, that are not Democrat, that are not Tea Party, but we get some actual people in there to really represent us and get these other clowns out of here that really have nothing and no real benefit or not liking, but they don't have any true, genuine aspirations toward us. And I'm talking about us as a people. What would happen? What would happen? Now, of course, this is real far fetched. I mean, black people and white people working together. Whoa, there is a sight in itself. That, of course, the politicians and the government doesn't want. But here's the thing that you got to think about, that I think about. When they start to come up and do things like they're doing here in Virginia, they're starting to bring up a matter that really could unite, that really could bring people together on common ground. Because the black gun owners, the black legal gun owners, don't plan on giving up their guns. The white legal gun owners don't plan on giving up their guns. What if we all decide to work together? I'm just saying. What would happen if the 300,000 plus, give or take, according to some reports, what if the 300,000 legal gun owners, black and white, all got together and stood together and said, you know what? Nah, it's not happening. Now, of course, that would cause a major uproar, and then the government and all this other stuff would have to come in, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, it would be a very, very, very terrible, terrible thing. And the thing that I think about is that it could really be avoided, but there's quite a few people that are out here in this world that they are really about it. And we really don't, I don't think the government really, really wants to test the people to that level. Or maybe they do. Or could it be that the government, once again, more questions than answers, or could it be that the government wants us constantly fighting each other so that they can always stay in control, to be able to put one side against the other, to always get their selfish agendas done and taken care of? So it's just all about using your common sense today. All about taking the time to think. Why do we vote for the people that we vote for? Are we voting for them because they're really doing something for us? I mean, because I come from the standpoint and from the situation of Republicans nor Democrats affect my stacks. Whoever's in office, I'm gonna have to get out there and get this money regardless. I'm gonna have to get out here and work hard regardless. I'm gonna have to get out here and grind regardless. I'm gonna have to get out here and get it in regardless. So whoever actually gets into office is not necessarily my mate. I mean, yes, I'm concerned about it, but at the end of the day, I know it's not going to affect my check. It's not going to affect how much money I do or don't generate. So I ask you, for those of us that are hardcore voters and that are really, really hardcore into the political thing and into operating in the political process, and I believe we should operate in the political process. And I believe that we should be voting and making sure that our votes count and making sure that we hold these people and these politicians to task. Because it's real out here, and these decisions that they're making are affecting us and have an effect on us and our community. So, why? Just ask yourself that simple question. Why are we voting for these people? Why are you still going through the same things that you're going through? Why do we still live in the same neighborhoods that we live in? Just why? Why do we do the things that we do? Right? Why, as a community, are we not further along? Are we really taking the time to really invest in ourselves and our families so that we can be the best people that we can be? Or are we just kind of still living in the cycle of negative stuff that has been stewed and put on us from our past and from our previous parents? This is a new day and a new age, and we can be different. We can be better. We can be better as a people. We can be better as individuals. We can have better and stronger families. We can have better, I dare say, to reach out on a limb and say, we really band together, we could actually get a better. I think we could probably even maybe possibly get a better government too. I'm just saying. It's a stretch, of course, but but hey, it may or may not work. But in the meantime and in between time, I encourage you to be the best you that you can be. And in the midst of it all, what's really going on with this political space? For example, they're talking about impeaching Donald Trump, right? Impeaching Donald Trump in his third year of office. I mean, are you are you fucking serious? I mean, really? So, but now, once again, think about this. Could it be that the government wants the masses focused looking this way when all of the action and what they're really doing is happening in the opposite way? Hmm. Could this be a distraction? Which is what I think about with a lot of this political stuff. It's a great big distraction to keep our eyes off of what's really happening. What's really going on with the economy, for example? Depending on who you listen to, uh, a recession is coming. You know, but depending on who you listen to and what your thoughts are. But the real question is, are you ready for a recession? What would happen if the job that you depend on suddenly decided that it was your day to leave? Are you ready? I mean, really, real talk. What would happen if the job that you're on just got this suddenly got to be a victim of tariffs or some of this other nonsense that Trump is over there doing, and your company is affected because they have a big pot of their business that comes from overseas, and then they turn around and have to, because their revenue is cut overseas because of tariffs or whatever, and products going up, supplies going up, or people ordering less, and then that trickles down to somebody having to lose their job. Surely you don't think one of those great big executives up there at the top are going to lose their job, do you? You know who they come for first. And in our community, we don't even have to ask and see who they come for first. The real question is, are you ready for whatever could jump off and could come through? Which gets into a whole nother part of just living an effective and efficient life. My goal in this podcast is to motivate, inspire, and educate. Today is about motivation and inspiration. Why do we do the things that we do? Why do we vote for the people that we vote for? Why do we continue to operate and do the same things that we do that we know are counterproductive? What are we doing in our lives that is productive? And more so than that, for those of us in Virginia, with all of this crazy stuff that the Democrats are coming down and putting down the pipe, I wouldn't vote Republican, but good God, I don't like these Democrats either. So, what can be done going forward? I welcome the questions, the answers to. I welcome any comments and answers to this question. I'm gonna post this video on YouTube. I'll cut out the profanity parts, but I'll post this video up on YouTube for the sake of, I want to know and see what the audience is thinking about this one. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We're getting our numbers and our views up. Let's get the downloads up on the podcast. Share with a friend and share with a friend and share with a friend because we got some good things coming in 2020. We got sponsorships coming for the podcast. We got a lot of good stuff going on. We got some different stuff coming to the YouTube channels. Be sure to check out the YouTube channel. Too Rich to Miss. The number 2, Rich to Miss. For all of my voiceover actors out there, I have the reality of voice acting. That's also on YouTube as well. Hey, just keep on rocking out with me. We got some good stuff going on, good content coming out. I'll see you on the next one. Too Rich to Miss podcast next week. Let's go.